It's all about industrialization in Japan today, my friends. It is lesson 15.4. What characteristics of Japanese culture allowed for successful rapid industrialization? So stick around and let's learn something. "15.4 is the lesson. Here's what we're going to figure out today. In this lesson, we will learn what characteristics of Japanese culture allowed for successful rapid industrialization. This is all about industrialization in Japan, and the actual industrial revolution that we learn in other classes begins in the mid-1700s. And it moved production from people's homes into factories, so to get things created much quicker. And we see this assembly line model of practice. And we also see the introduction of machines. Machines are being used to make the work a lot easier. And the Industrial Revolution took approximately 100 years in Europe and in North America. But that's not what we're looking at. We're not taking a look at Europe. We're not taking a look at North America. We are taking a look at Japan today. So, Japan, we see this again. We've seen this before. They've borrowed aspects of other culture. In the previous lessons, we talked about borrowing even ideas of government. Well, now they're borrowing technology. Perry brought industrialized gifts to the Japanese, and they were super impressed by these gifts and by that show of military technology too. The Japanese, being who they are, they took this technology and these gifts and they studied them. And they studied them very, very closely, and they began to reproduce these exact same things that were given to them by the United States. They also went a step further in that they went and they left Japan. They went abroad to get ideas about how other countries are using technology and how other countries are making things and how other countries have access to certain areas of in industrialized world. They then hired experts and advisors from all over the world, and they brought them to Japan so that Japan could catch up to the rest of the world. Okay, so Japan had a lot of catch up to do. They were isolated for a very long period of time, and they felt like they needed to become world players and leading in all of these areas. So that's what they did. They hired these experts and they hired these advisors so that they could help them out. Once these advisors then trained the Japanese people, okay, so once the Japanese were trained, the experts, thank you very much, it's time for you guys to leave. They were told to leave Japan. And the Japanese focused their studying on shipbuilding, on military, on construction, on medicine, and on culture. And they really studied these areas. They studied these areas so much that they became world leaders in these areas. Even today, they are world leaders in these areas. They also not only borrowed technology, but they also borrowed economic ideas. And the large essential industries were planned, built, and paid for by the government. So the government saw the importance of these essential industries, these large industries, which would eventually become world powerful industries and companies. And the government took over and the government paid for all of this stuff. Once these businesses then became profitable, the government then sold them off at a fairly low cost to individuals so that these individuals could then go and take over. The government didn't want to get involved too much in the business of things. They just wanted to ensure that there was a successful business that the Japanese could take over. And if we look at Japanese businesses today, we see that they are very profitable and we see that they are world leaders, especially when it comes to military, when it comes to construction, and I said medicine and technology and all that kind of stuff. They are now current world leaders in all of those areas. All right, I want you to head over to your notebook and complete the questions for this part of the chapter.